Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are you, Grant?
Doing good. Well,
Good.
I'm quarantined,
That's the worst.
but I'm able to
You
do
and a bunch of
this.
other people.
Yeah.
Well, good morning, everyone. We actually just wanted to get on here, talk a little bit about what happened in real estate in 2020 in Ottawa County, kind of what's expected for 2021 for the housing market. And we've got Grant to help us with the mortgage side of things, talk a little bit about what interest rates did in 2020, what to expect in 2021. He just started his own brokerage, so he's going to talk to us a little bit about that and kind of what sets him apart and why we love him so much. So to get started, I'm going to share my screen so we can kind of look at these Ottawa County numbers. So let's see. All right. So we have a full breakdown here. Are we getting an echo or no?
You did for a second. That's
Okay. All right. So hopefully this is laid out well where you guys can see it and kind of, from month to month how things changed. Tim and I, my dad, kind of went through it yesterday and had some fun kind of talking about how things progressed and how you can kind of see how our stay-home orders, affected those numbers quite drastically. So you look at January, days on market were actually kind of high. And if you actually look at the days on market, they progressed, high, continued to go down and down and down. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, what were the month that we had talked about yesterday was, look at June to July of sold homes in Ottawa County.
you can definitely tell the pent-up demand.
Oh, for sure.
From the lockdowns in May to opening up in June, July.
Look at even May to June is huge too.
Right.
And so what we said, the way that plays out is you've got all the ones that sold in May were the ones that were listed in April. So very low listings in April, which I think is the month that for the most part we were home in Michigan. Most people couldn't, everyone was working from home. I can't remember the exact dates of when real estate became essential. Do you remember, Grant?
I think it was not until like the second week of June.
No.
Or was it May?
I think it was maybe early May, late April.
Okay, maybe everything else opened up in June then.
Yeah, so I think that's when like hairstylists and stuff opened up.
So yeah, it would have been like halfway through May then. April was all shut down, wasn't it?
Oh, look at the solds in May.
Much shut down that whole month.
Yeah.
The numbers in May are really reflective of work done in April. Or
Exactly.
not April.
For sure. For sure. But no, I just think it's cool. The number in July of sold is just, it's insane. It's huge pent-up demand. And you really didn't see that come down until almost November. So like 2 months of pent-up demand lasted through October. It just kept going and kept going.
One thing I would note is the difference between like a lot of people like, I don't want to sell my house in the winter months, right? But if you look at the days on the market from December to July, it's actually less days on the market now. Like it's
way
actually,
less.
So it's actually a really good time. That says that there's a lot of buyers out there, and look, there's not as many houses. Obviously, look at the numbers. So you definitely need to look into listing based on these numbers.
For sure.
Not only that, also reflective of that is the average sale price. Even if you break it down by quarter, the first quarter, first 3 months, average days in the market are all over 50. Second quarter, they're in the 40s. Third quarter, they're down to the 30s. And now in fourth quarter, which we're in right now, all days in the market are under 30 days. And the average sale prices are staying fairly, healthy.
Well, and I think the interest rates play into that, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
The lower the interest rate, the more people can afford. So if, interest rates went down 0.5% from the beginning of the year, that's not just necessarily a lower payment, that's an increased purchase price. They can afford more because their payment will be lower. So they're buying more expensive homes, which again kind of plays into the fact of, if depending on what is being forecasted for 2021 for interest rates, but if we see a jump in that, it brings the affordability down. So, if it's something that you're going to think, sometime in the next 6 months, knowing that, they might not stay exactly where they are, it could actually cost you either how much house you have or how much your mortgage payment is, or both. So, but no, it is a cool progression to see kind of how many homes sold every month, what the days on market was, and kind of how the price, even the price, it continuously went up. I think there's only like 1 month in there that it came down, maybe 2 months that it came down from the month prior.
When you look at this too, just the amazing thing is knowing that what we came through, with COVID and all that, how this market has, stayed so healthy, and the fact that we've weathered this, and the forecasts are that it's going to stay healthy, is really a testament to, the fact that the resilience of the market.
Yeah, and I think it's good to note too that real estate across most of the country has kept our market strong, our economy strong rather, in compared to when we were in our recession before, and it was the housing market causing the recession. The housing market now is keeping us from going into a further recession, which is really, really cool. So, all right, we'll talk a little bit about what some of the kind of more well-known economists are saying about 2021. So at the very top, we've got Danielle Hale. She's Realtor.com's economist. She's saying that they're expecting sales to grow 7% and prices to rise another 5.7%. So kind of with that, breaking that down, the 7%, they're saying we're going to have 7% more homes sold than 2020. And that the appreciation, right, the home values are going to rise 5.7%. I kind of, when I first got into real estate, kind of had the, my mindset was always home prices usually rise an average of 3 to 4% per year. I think is healthy growth is what they say. So you can kind of see that we're still going to be above average. They're not expecting, I think, gosh, I don't know if it's in here, but I think 2020, it was like closer to 8 to 9% appreciation from the year prior. So we're definitely not going to see the same appreciation that we saw last year, but it's not going to, we're not going to lose value. Still going to appreciate above, normal numbers, which is great. Especially if you're thinking about buying. I have a lot of people that are like, I don't want to buy right now because I don't know what the market's going to do, and I don't want to, get a new mortgage, and then, the market tanks, and which really that shouldn't affect you if you're going to stay in your home for more than 5 years anyways. So anyways, yeah, she says, well, we expect mortgage rates to tick up gradually. Sales and price growth will be propelled by still strong demand, a recovering economy, and still low mortgage rates. So again, right, low mortgage rates, low demand. They're two things that are going to drive prices up and keep the market strong. So Lawrence Yun, he's my favorite. He works for NAR. I actually got to see him speak a couple years ago at Wimlar's, yearly lunch thing that they do for us. But he's brilliant. He's amazing. But he says, I've got a couple different ones from him here. He says home sales surprised with a surge in the second half of 2020 and the momentum will carry into 2021. The record low mortgage rates have been the key factor for home buying, even in difficult job market conditions. As we enter 2021, jobs will steadily recover, especially knowing that the vaccine distribution is just around the corner. The interest rates will continue to be favorable since the Federal Reserve has indicated such. And supply will rise based on the higher number of housing starts of single-family homes. This will give consumers more choices and, more importantly, will tame home price growth. So he kind of, and I think I have one in here from National Association of Home Builders too. I think that is another thing that they're saying is that we're going to start being able to build more homes than we did last year, which will bring, down some of the demand, but more, definitely not pushing us towards the seller's market, but maybe correcting it a little bit. He also says any foreclosure increases will likely be quickly absorbed by the market. It will not lead to any price declines. So this is another one that I keep hearing people saying, right? There's going to be all these foreclosures because of the forbearance or because people who are laid off and now their forbearance is down and they still can't make their mortgage payment. There are going to be foreclosures. It's, that's not something that's in question. They're going to happen. But because our demand is so low, like you said, it's just going to be absorbed. It's not going to cause the market to crash. It's not going to cause property values to go down. It's just going to stabilize it a little, I would say.
Yeah, I think the thing that people don't understand with foreclosures is the act of there being a foreclosure doesn't decrease your value. Like the bank doesn't sell that house for a discount just because it's a foreclosure. They're going to sell it for what the market can get for it.
Right.
So a lot of people think, a foreclosure next door to me is going to bring my value down. It's like, no, they're going to sell it for what the value is. I mean, but they're always comparing it to 2008 where you had like 5 foreclosures on your street. That's right. A little bit different scenario than we're talking. I know Susie Orman made herself a little more popular than she already is in August. I think it was, she had made a comment not to buy a house now and to wait until November of 2020 to buy a house because all these foreclosures were going to hit the market due to the extra, $600 and all that stuff from, and if you took that advice and you went back to your numbers for the average sale price, that person that took that advice would be paying probably $10,000 more for a house.
Right.
Susie Orman said to wait till November. If they did, the average sales price went up, from August to November. So the truth is buying a house, even though there is like the interest rate factor into it, most people don't buy because of rate. They buy because of need. Mm-hmm. It's not like, rates are low, I'm going to buy a house. Like, does it help? Yes. Maybe does it give a little bit more motivation to buy? If they were on the line of whether or not they were going to do it, maybe. But, usually it helps more with the buying power, not the actual decision to buy.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, so we'll move on. Jeff Tucker with Zillow. This is his prediction. He says, and I actually agree with this one a lot, the millennial generation is moving into their mid-30s, bringing a wave of demand from renters looking to buy their first homes. Mortgage rates may inch back up to around 3%, but even at that level, they will be making home purchases more attractive all along the price range. And although builders are finally firing on all cylinders, delivering new homes to the market will take them a long time to make up for the home building deficit we accumulated from 2008 to 2019. The clearest barometer we have that reflects all of these dimensions of the housing market is active inventory, which is down more than 1/3 year over year. That suggests continued fast-paced appreciation ahead and fierce competition between buyers. So I think the millennials are shaping our market. They're out there in droves, and most of them are all looking for the same price point, and it's making it extremely competitive, driving up those prices. I think another thing and I don't know if we'll see it so much in our area, but you've got people that are moving. They're moving to like other states. I read an article yesterday that talked about people moving, from state to state is the highest it's ever been, like in our history. So whether or not that affects us in West Michigan, I don't know, but it'd be interesting to see how that plays out in 2021 and how it affects different
I
markets.
think a lot of that's attributable to the fact that people don't have to live close to their workplace anymore. A lot of them are working from home, so they get to pick and choose.
For sure.
Based on some other factors rather than proximity to where they were.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, in these numbers we talk about here, we're talking residential real estate. Commercial, that's got a reckoning it's going to run into with everyone, a lot of people working from home, realizing office spaces, especially in major cities. And that's what kind of what you're talking about state to state is where you're seeing the exodus is from the big cities. And Grand Rapids in West Michigan is pretty unique because like it's a city, but it's not, humongous, and it's not so for someone coming from New York, Grand Rapids doesn't look big. So they're avoiding a lot of taxes and realizing they don't need to live in a big city or have a big expensive office space to do what they do.
Yeah, that was actually one of the things that I read, in the last couple of weeks, that they talked about people are just in droves moving to suburbs. Even if they're staying in the same area, they're leaving the city and they're going to suburbs. So I think as far as Ottawa County goes, I think if we're going to be affected, that one would probably affect us the most. People from Grand Rapids that maybe want more country or want a little bit smaller town, but still have the ability to commute pretty easily into Grand Rapids. And I think we've actually been seeing that a lot in the last 2 years. A lot more people who from the Grand Rapids area, more coming this way and commuting.
Well, the one thing you can't make more of is land. So when areas get congested, like you can't create more space,
Right.
So you just it starts to balloon out into Ottawa County and down south, like Dorr and Allegan, and out east to Lowell and all these areas that were very rural, maybe 10, 15 years ago are, you're seeing little communities pop up. So
yeah,
it's really different values. That's for sure.
I've even seen you think of Fenville, or is
Douglas,
technically lower pricing. You know what I mean? You can
Right.
find a lower priced home in Fenville, and you're starting to not see that so much anymore because it's kind of like the people who live in South Holland are moving further and further south, and it's kind of the demand it's bringing those prices up. So,
well, if you talk to people from big cities, and we're somewhat spoiled in West Michigan on how quickly we can get to different areas of West Michigan. Like for someone to get to Grand Rapids to Holland, right? We're talking like 20, 30 minutes. So you talk to somebody from a city that's used to commuting like an hour or two a day one way to go, oh, do you really want to live out in Fenville? Because that's 35 minutes. They're like, so? So it's kind of funny.
Well, I can kind of personally attest to that. We just moved we lived in Pete for several years. And so anytime you want to go anywhere, figure it's going to be a half hour, 45 minutes. Move back to Holland. It's a whole different perspective because everything is so close to one another. So you're right. It's a matter of perspective.
Right.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. So this one's from National Association of Home Builders, which I think is pretty interesting. They say with home builder confidence near record highs, we expect continued gains for single family construction, albeit at a lower growth rate than in 2019. Some slowing of new home sales growth will occur due to the fact that a growing share of sales has come from homes that have not started construction. Nonetheless, buyer traffic will remain strong given favorable demographics, a shifting geography of housing demand to lower density markets, and historically low interest rates. So I feel like more people are choosing to build, more so in the last 6 months to a year because they're more particular about what they want in their house after spending so much time in their house, right? So instead of going and looking for the perfect house, they're like, well, let's just build something and then we can get what we want. So I think that now that, hopefully like lumber costs were ridiculous this year. So hopefully those will come down a little bit and we'll see a little bit better growth rate with new builds.
My mom actually works at, she does bookkeeping for Home Depot. And she said the price of a 2x4 is really close to doubled.
It's ridiculous.
So it's like $7, like in some odd sense, where it was like $4 something before. And so I think you do have those people that like would really like, you'll always have people willing to build. The issue really is the price range of which houses are being built in. Like it's not worth it for a builder to build a house that's less than 200,000. Heck, 200,000 would be, I'm not even sure that's worth it. So like you see these builds and they're all $350,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 houses, because with the costs and stuff like that, there's no profit in the first time home buyer houses. And that's kind of where you kind of have this struggle. And we need interest rates to be low because we need the affordability aspect of it to still be there, because the prices aren't going to be, finding a $150,000 house that doesn't need a ton of work is really hard.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to do new builds at entry level for the entry level market. It's just not doable with the cost of land and the cost of lumber and the cost of trades. They're all they can charge ridiculous prices because they're so low. There's just nobody available to do work for you right now. You try and call someone to do any type of remodeling work or anything, they're 6 months out. So
try to get them to pour concrete at your house. Good luck.
I know a concrete guy.
Yeah, he probably booked till June.
Well, it's my husband.
Oh yeah, true.
He probably wouldn't appreciate me volunteering him to do concrete work, though.
No.
So, all right. Well, I'm going to toss it over to you. I want to hear a little bit more about you, Grant. And, I know you just started your own brokerage. So tell us about that, and maybe tell us a little bit about what experts are predicting as far as mortgage rates go. Maybe talk a little bit about what did rates do in 2020? How did they progress in 2020?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Grant Alexandar. I recently opened my own mortgage brokerage called Rapid Home Finance, and it is basically our brokerage is designed to be extremely efficient and fast. So the whole rapid thing is kind of like two plays on the word, being from the Grand Rapids area, and extremely quick, because we believe that if we can get a loan clear to close as fast as possible, it really takes a lot of the stress of home buying out of it. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to close that deal in a week or two. But once you get the financing, you get the clear to close, that part out of the way, like the stress tends to really be diminished when that happens. So our focus, majority of our transactions, probably I would say 99%, that much, are all done electronically. So the likelihood that I'm going to actually see a client face to face in this day and age, even before COVID happened, was extremely low. So we have a lot of efficiencies put in place so someone could apply today, upload their documents instantly, and have a pre-approval by the end of the day. This allows us to just be super prepared when we're putting in offers and be able to get loan documents out, appraisals ordered right away so that we don't have any delays. So that's the way our business is structured. And then COVID happens, and then it's like, okay, we're not going to do face-to-face meetings, right? No one is. So we start, realizing that these efficiencies that we already had in place may, kind of put us a little bit above the edge, because we've already been doing it for a while now. But interest rates, I know that's one thing you wanted me to touch on. I was actually looking at some information from Freddie Mac over the last couple of years of what interest rates have been. And so at the beginning of 2019, we were at interest rates in the mid 4s, right? Which was really good. Anything below 5 over the last 10 years was considered good. But now, like if you say mid 4s, like no one, people are going to run and hide. So we look at the mid 4s, and it started in the late 2019. It was starting to get down into like the mid 3s. So when 2020 rolled around, we were right around the mid 3s, like 3.6, 3.4, somewhere around that. And it's kind of strange because before we kind of had the pandemic hit us full force in the late March and April, we were already refinancing people, right? We were refinancing people that were at 4.5. Now we're refinancing them at 3.25 or 3.5. And then COVID happens and the feds decide that they're going to start buying mortgage-backed securities, and it drives they lower the Fed rate to 0. And so it drives rates down even lower. So now we're in the 2s. Like, I actually have 3 clear to closes I got this week, and they were all in the 2s. Some of them even like right around the 2.7 mark. And some even lower when they're 15-year mortgages. So it's really interesting because I had a friend reach out to me a couple weeks ago. She wanted to buy a house, and she was looking around, and she was like, I just can't believe like these houses, how much they're going for. And like, I don't want to have that expensive of a house, And so I started asking some questions, and I was like, well, what do you want your payment to be? Because it's 2 households becoming 1. And we talked, she's like, well, I want it to be around, $1,500. And I'm like, do you realize this house that you think is super expensive, when you put 20% down and your interest rate's, 2.7 or 2.9 or whatever it is, that your payment on that's like $1,400 a month with taxes and insurance? And she's like, what? And she's like, so what people don't understand is you don't always quote, it's more about the affordability of it than it is the actual sales price. And
I have a lot of people that I've heard, say things like, yeah, I would love to sell and buy something, but what am I going to buy? Everything's so expensive. But it's like, you can have sticker shock because the prices seem so high, but because of the interest rates being so low, you can kind of take money off that purchase price, because that's essentially what it's like if you were to buy a house a year ago or a year and a half ago at 4.5%. You're essentially buying a house for $30,000 less.
Right. Well, yeah, the thing people don't understand is like selling high and buying high is not a wash. Mm-hmm. Because if a house, let's say your house increased in value by $30,000, but so did the one you're going to buy. Okay. So I'm going to do some math here. So you're actually going to net, maybe $28,000 because your house increased $30,000. You're going to net $28,000. The house you're going to buy that increased by $30,000, if you're putting 20% down, you're only increasing your down payment by $6,000.
Right.
Actually, selling high nets you $22,000 more. It's not a wash, because when you buy, you put money down in a percentage, and when a value increases on the sell side, that is actual dollars in your pocket.
Yeah.
So there is a big difference there. So interest rates right now, I'm seeing them throughout. I think through 2021, we're still going to see extremely low rates. I don't know if we're going to get back up into the 3s. What we saw in September, October, November was interest rates actually weren't as low as they should have been. And the reason for that being is there was trillions and trillions of dollars in mortgages being refinanced all at once. There never had been that many mortgages being refinanced at a single time. And so what happens is the only way to catch up is to increase your rates to slow production. And it sounds silly, like, why would you ever want to slow production? Well, I mean, reputation is big in this business. So like, if you can't keep up and your reputation, you start, making mistakes on loans, or loans start taking longer to close, it was actually better to increase interest rates to slow production so that you can keep up and maintain the efficiencies and the level of business that you want to put out there. So now come December came around, we see it like, okay, we're caught up a little bit. And I think we're going to be okay through 2021. I think the big first wave of refinances have already gone through. And there's still people, refinancing now, but we're not as, the lenders aren't as slammed as they were during the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm excited for 2021. I think it's actually going to be a great year for real estate. With the economy, if we did as well as we did in the middle of a pandemic, and our economy kind of going into a recession, and now we're hopefully coming out of that, I can only imagine it's going to be awesome.
Well, I think you are like it's going to happen. Like when the mortgage relief and stuff ends, like it's no doubt we're going to have, some foreclosures coming on the market. There's some people that will not go back to work. The business either doesn't exist anymore, or the position doesn't exist, or downsizing, whatever. It will happen. And the comfort I want to give to viewers is that the scale of which it'll happen is not going to be like what you expect, what happened in 2008. And if there is foreclosures that come on the market, or actually foreclosures that happen, I should say, banks will not just throw them all on the market at the same time. They will hold the asset. They don't want to dilute their own asset by putting all their foreclosures out at once, right? They'll roll them out so that it doesn't negatively impact the market. It doesn't negatively affect the value of that asset. So even though foreclosures might happen, it's not like you could have 5 on your street actually happen, but it won't matter if they don't all come back on the market at the same time.
Right.
There's still 10, 12 offers going on houses. So what, you have some foreclosures hit the market, and now there's only 8 offers. Like that's still 8 offers. Yeah. So I think it's not something to necessarily be afraid of. And I think you're going to have government intervention still. There's, back in 2008 or post 2008, we had HARP, was a refinance product by Fannie and Freddie. And I think you're going to see something like that again, where it's, some way trying to help out those that, got behind on their mortgages or whatnot. I don't know what it is or when it'll come, but I'm pretty sure something like that's going to come out.
I think that we're also, because we're in a position right now where our housing market is so strong. The people that maybe can't continue to make their mortgage payments, they're gonna take advantage of the market, and they're gonna sell, I think, before they lose their home, because they would be silly not to,
Well, I think that's our job, to educate them on making sure they don't get to the point of a sheriff's sale.
For sure.
If you're behind and that's coming up and that's inevitable, you really need to talk to a real estate agent. Even if you only bought like a year or two ago, you'd be surprised. It's better to sell and break even than to be foreclosed on and have to wait, 3 to 7 years to be able to buy again. So
for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, before we go, Tim and I would like to kind of talk about some of the things that we're planning on doing this year that we're super excited about. So Tim joined me in September?
No, it's the end of October.
Okay. So we've kind of spent the last 6 weeks just business planning and, putting a calendar together and brainstorming and kind of who we are and how we want to be, an asset to our clients and our friends and family. And so one thing we're starting, which actually is a little different, it's more, serving our community. We're going to start doing a series, and it'll start in February. And it's basically just going to be interviewing different businesses downtown Zeeland. So our office is downtown Zeeland. And, for those of you that don't know, I was born and raised in Zeeland and have lived here pretty much my whole life and live here now. And so I love this community and would love to kind of put spotlights on small businesses down here that maybe people don't know about, get them, drive some traffic to them or get some traffic to their website. So we're going to be doing that in 2021. just interviewing those businesses down here. And so we're going to do that. We've got a couple different client parties that we're going to do this year that we're really excited about. End of the year this year, we did a pie pickup, which was amazing. And it was so good to see people. And so, yeah, we'll be doing that again. We'll be doing one in the summer. Different,
We'll be doing these monthly kind of updates, market updates with Grant once a month at the end of every month. So this kind of information that we're kind of encapsulating for the whole year, but we're going to be doing it month by month. And so this is really, really interesting information. So we can kind of keep our finger really on the pulse of what's going on and let people know too what's going on. And so I think it'll be really informative, really interesting information.
All right. Well, we're excited for 2021. We're excited to serve you. We would love any referrals you want to send our way. It means a ton to us. But yeah, anything else you got, Dad?
I just to encapsulate what we've talked about, for the last half hour or so with Grant, is that, we've come through a pandemic. We look at our information, we look at the statistics, and we can discern that, sellers right now are in a really good place because they're getting top dollar for their home. Buyers are in a good place because they have more buying power now than maybe they ever have. And so that combination, and we have the ability, if you're a buyer and a seller, that's how we can really help navigate that and take advantage of both of those scenarios. So yeah, we're looking forward to an incredible year. We've come through the pandemic. Everything is incredibly stable, and it's going to continue to stay that way. So the future looks great for Ottawa County and the West Michigan region.
I concur. All right, guys. It was great chatting with you. Let us know if you have any questions. Send us an email or a text or private message on Facebook, whatever works for you. But we look forward to working with you in 2021. Bye, guys.
Absolutely.